Alex, we are falling beyond schedule, don't you think? Alex!
What?
We're late, man.
I'm trying not to screw this up. And anyways, the community always says that we're late.
Okay. Have you found Borg?
Borg? No.
Yeah.
Isn't he working on the space shuttle?
Where is he?
Let's go check him out, yeah?
Let's go, man.
There he is.
Come on, guys. This is no time for Macarena. The community is waiting.
It's okay. They can chill, right?
Come on. What is he saying? What is he saying?
What's that, Borg?
We are live!
Welcome, Borgers and community across the globe. We're so glad to have you with us here at the Borg Shuttle. So let's have a seat and relax. Grab your favorite drink, warm, cold, regardless. So Anthony, we have a crazy schedule today. What are we up to?
Exactly, my man. So happy to be here, joined by the community. So we will start with Altcoin Blueprint.
The Altcoin Blueprint, guys, the absolute blueprint for 25 to 26 on how to make significant wealth. What else?
And it's just the appetizer. So once we set a very clear trajectory, we will discuss about the Borg with very, very special guests.
Ooh, the Borg, the system and the tokenomics and strategy to go to the moon with this beautiful shuttle. But before we kick off, Anthony, we need to thank our partners here today, right?
Exactly. Web3 Production, guys, from the heart, thank you very much for hosting us today. As you can see, guys, it's Hollywood level production today, right?
Hollywood level production, guys, just for you, the first time ever in Web3 history. So without further ado, should we look at who's online?
Let's go.
Who's there? Nico Konut, Stomic. Who do you see else?
We see, wow, so many people.
Julian, Remy de Béziers, Luca, JC, Maximus, Micah. Who else?
Asha. Yeah, so many people joining today, and it's amazing.
Jordan, yeah, thank you guys so much. Send us as many hearts as possible to share the love. And if you're new to the SwissBorg space, welcome to your new family. Welcome to the SwissBorg ecosystem. And get ready to be a Borger. For those already Borgers, we love you. And without further ado, shall we kick off?
Let's go, my friend.
All right, guys. So let's look at the slides today. As you can see, we have the alt season blueprint 25 to 26. We're going to dive deep into research and more important to hypothesis based on facts so that we can give you the ultimate investment strategy for the cycle to come. So without further ado, let's look at the first side. So I guess one question everyone asks themselves, Anthony, is what is an alt season? Do you mind kind of telling us at a very high level, basic level, what this is actually?
It's a very, very good question. So as anything in life, it is a cycle. We have summer every year. It's a season, right?
Absolutely.
And then we have autumn and winter and so on, right? So what we believe in crypto is altcoin season comes at a very specific time of the cycle. And usually it comes just after Bitcoin have sent a stellar performance. So Alex, tell us more about what is the altcoin season, what are the ingredients that help us to forecast that it's coming?
The seasonality is exactly what we're looking at, guys. And when it comes to this season, it's important to understand that how do you measure this is when an altcoin season has the top 10 assets, Bitcoin besides that outperform Bitcoin. And then the top 20 assets, top 50, top 100, and then full on risk appetite is high level high, and then people go into riskier assets. So without further ado, let's look at some of the story behind this because we're all a part of this story, right? And isn't it beautiful, Anthony, that we have a story that starts with retail in finance before the institutions. So as you guys can see on the slide here, we have a legend that says with a green arrow, what has happened, and with a dotted arrow, what is going to happen. So let's look at the story. As you all know, the first actor, a part of this beautiful story, is retail, us. And us retail got into Bitcoin, as you can see, Ethereum, as you can see, top blockchain tokens such as the layer 0, 1, 2s, but also dApp tokens and also meme coin tokens and other different bubbles in the asset classes. And this is beautiful, but there is one issue that many influencers, many content creators really complain about, and that is new tokens into the space. Anthony, can you break that down for us?
Absolutely. So you heard it from the man. We are in for an altcoin season. This is time, guys. So what does it mean, right? Because as we just mentioned, every season is different. Every cycle is different. I was in summer with my family in Estonia. This summer I was in Estonia, and the weather was shit. But the year before was amazing. So today we're here, like weather forecast, like very sexy weather presenter, to help you to assess. So we want to share with you the vision where the sun is going to go and where the shitty weather is going to be, right? And the first question that we ask ourselves coming with this weather forecast for the altcoin season is, are these millions of tokens that are created every day are going to fuck us, right? Is it going to compromise? Is going to be a bad weather because of these coins? So something that you may have noticed, if you go back to the previous cycle in 2021, and you look at CoinMarketCap, there was around 5,000 tokens that were tracked on CoinMarketCap. As of today, these figures went from 5,000 to 21 million. Can you imagine, guys? A massive explosion, a massive explosion. So when we listen to analysts, Cowell, people in the space are trying to as well give their weather forecast when it's come to the altcoin season. This inflation of token create a lot of skepticism, right? And for right reason in a sense, right? Because logically speaking, you will think, because there is so many tokens, how are we going to fight collectively the liquidity to make them all pump? It's logic, right? That's the first thing that you will think. But for us, we see differently. And it comes from the fact that we look at a very, very specific metric, which is, I'm sure you guys have guessed already that most of these tokens are produced by Pump.Fun, which is the major platform. But when you dig into the stat of Pump.Fun, you will find that actually they have issued 9 million tokens, which is 50% almost of all the tokens in circulation, but only 152 of them, which is less than 0.0001%, have a market cap above 1 million. And even on 1 million, it's not really a token that you can invest. So the conclusion of that is all these tokens are not altcoin, they are shitcoin.
Yes.
Right? They're not part of they are not going to compromise the token with strong fundamental. So you shouldn't be worried, guys, because this is a completely different asset class.
And I think that's a key point, guys. So when you're looking at the market, this whole concept of, yes, we have an increase in token offerings in CoinMarketCap is not valid for postponing or completely eliminating an altcoin season. That's what we're saying, right?
Exactly.
This argument, as you can see through the data, just doesn't make sense.
Alex, so we've seen retails, but
yes.
Is there anybody else that is currently participating to this cycle?
That's a great question, and that brings us back to our story together. We were all first, the retail, which once again is a beautiful thing. But now we also have institutional capital inflowing into crypto. And when you combine retail, institutional for Bitcoin, Ethereum, we call this the super cycle. But there are some issues, right, with this new major player in our space, aren't there?
Let's see.
Let's see.
Let's see. So the second question that we ask ourselves, building this altcoin season thesis and weather forecast, is who is in control?
Who's in control?
So as you can see on this chart, it's a little bit of a complex chart, but I will try to explain. This chart, which is Ethereum chart, but the same apply for Bitcoin, is the stock, the collective stocks that people possess, according if they are retail, which is the orange line, or if they are institutional, which is the blue line. And as you can see, in 2021, most of the Ethereum stock was actually held by retail players. So when Ethereum price appreciate, everyone was making money. What they did next is they reinvest this profit into altcoin. So they were the driving force behind the altcoin season, because they were deciding with their money which altcoin is going to worth it, right? Which altcoin is worthing me to sell my Ethereum. But as we can see in this chart, since 2021, there is a clear downtrend, and many retailers have actually dumped on their Ethereum, and it has never recovered. So the price appreciation on Bitcoin and Ethereum that we've seen in the past few months didn't really beneficiate these guys because they've depleted their pockets. At the meantime, the opposite happened for institutional, which is the blue line, where we see since 2020 a very clear uptrend line. So institutional actually are buying our coin, right? And because of the appreciation of Bitcoin and Ethereum in the past few months, they are in control by definition. And it's going to change a lot how we are going to approach this altcoin season because they are going to invest. The matrix of investments is so different from ours. They respond more to fundamentals and some of the metrics that we are about to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So long story short, when it comes to the power of the institutions, it's very important to think about what is next after Ethereum, right? Is it going to be Solana? Is it going to be Avalanche? As you guys know, they have many, many tools to pump certain assets. So that's one very important concept. So, but that's not the only player. It's very important to understand on how the story goes through, right? We talked about retail guys, which is us. We talked about institutionals, but there's a third player that's absolutely key, right, Anthony? What is a DAT?
Exactly, so that is a new player. In the previous cycle, we have the app, which was decentralized app, and they bring a lot of fuel and power to the altcoin season. Today is different, because as we've seen, we have institutional that are controlling the market. And because they don't really use MetaMask or any of the Web3 wallets, they had to invent a new type of instrument to get an exposure to the altcoin market. And that decentralized, digital assets, treasury, are companies, they are stocks that constantly buy assets, right? And we've seen, we're going to see what we've seen, right, for them, but they are a new component of this market and a very, very crucial component of this market.
So let's have a look at some examples, Anthony, right? So let's look at an example of a DAT, or even two examples of a DAT, right? So the first one, I think, is someone that everyone is very familiar with, right?
Exactly.
This picture, guys, do you guys recognize this beautiful face?
So once upon a time, we had a Wall Street wizard, right? An investor, a seasoned investor that fell in love with Bitcoin and decided to use his company to relentlessly buy Bitcoin, right? And as a matter of fact, by doing so, it was one of the first instruments that was available before ETF, that was available for institutional to actually buy Bitcoin and get an exposure. And it led to this, of course, it became a very, very famous figure in the space, not only for Wall Street, but for all of us. He is this kind of Bitcoin Jesus, that really, really is the best KOL for Bitcoin. But more importantly, if you look at the previous, like the past 18 months, of course, ETF as well contribute a lot to the price appreciation of Bitcoin, but definitely MicroStrategy with a constant VWAP help really the price to appreciate. And it's not only like he's talking, he's really, really buying a huge amount of Bitcoin, and it really helped the Wall Street to fall in love, to share his love for Bitcoin. And funny enough, of course, he inspired a new guru, a new Wall Street guru, named Tom Lee. So maybe this name is new, but you are going to see, this is our forecast that you're going to see more and more this guy. It was inspired by Michael Saylor and said, fuck, I'm going to do the same. My company is BitMine, and I'm going to buy Ethereum. And even more strong than the price appreciation of MicroStrategy, in the past 3 months, BitMine went from $4 to 60 something, so it's more than 12x. Which is very interesting because it's better than most of the altcoin that we are offered these days. So you have to understand that this is how Wall Street invests. They look at instruments that they can buy, and this type of success story is going to continue. And it's going to be the blueprint for the altcoin season. And as you can see, the recent price appreciation that we've seen on Ethereum, of course, is linked to the ETF again, but this guy is one of the guys behind this pump. And that's the new tendency. And as you've seen recently, we see a very positive price action on Solana. And guess what?
Yes.
New DAT, digital asset treasury, being created by Wall Street, buying relentlessly Solana.
And I must say 0G as well, right? 0G, which, by the way, guys, the SwissBorgers who joined the alpha to buy 0G, you're roughly 20x relative to the valuation where you got in through the SwissBorg Alpha product. So, guys, please understand that alpha investing, angel investing is very risky, but once in a while you get these beautiful moonshots. And same thing, right? $360 million was sold in terms of tokens to put on a treasury, so it pumps the stock and it pumps the token at the same time. And that's the beauty about it, right? These are how the DATs or the DATs are actually an important actor in the current markets. And then the most important part, I guess, Anthony, here is this, right? So we want to really understand what is the last player so that we really have a full-fledged altcoin season. And that's not just retail, it's not just institutional, it's not just the DATs, but it is new retail. And that is very important because as the business cycle and economic cycle grows and the middle class has more and more income to deploy, it's not going to go in stocks because 15% a year does not bridge the wealth gap. However, some more riskier assets where you can do double your money or triple your money is a lot more enticing, and therefore that is what we want to see for a full-fledged bull market, right, Anthony?
Absolutely, and as we've just seen, that are actually stocks, right? And BitMine, as a matter of fact, become the 10 most liquid stocks, competing with NVIDIA, Meta, all these big guys. And potentially the guys that doesn't have open a Web3 wallet or doesn't have a crypto exchange, they are going to buy that because they're amazing performance. And it's going to fuel again the altcoin.
Absolutely. And so what is the formula, right? We've talked about all this and you're wondering, okay, get to it, cut to the chase. Give us the secret recipe. Well, we're going to give it to you guys right now based on what we find is the most relevant and pertinent research that has been offered so far in the crypto space. So first, if we take the data from September 1, 2024 to September 1, 2025, full 1 year of data, which is very important because we don't want pump and dumps. We really want to measure the tokens that have really surperformed the market. And what do we mean by that? Bitcoin has roughly doubled year on year in that specific time frame. But the top performing tokens in the industry have more than doubled Bitcoin's price. So even though Bitcoin has rallied like crazy, the top performing tokens have had an incredible performance. So what does that mean? Let's have a look at the top performing tokens of 24 to 25. And the first one is, and of course this data may be slightly outdated because it's roughly 3 weeks old, but you can see here that Virtuals has 20x. I know, Anthony, you got into Virtuals early. What is Virtuals? Apparently it's AI, but why did the token pump so much?
So as you just stated, Virtual was the blockbuster of 2024, right? So what is 2024? 2024 is the year of AI. This is the year where we all discover and adopted ChatGPT, and this Web2 narrative translated into Web3. And it was specifically fueled because, as we can see, there is less and less retail coming to the market. So Wall Street and what's going on in Wall Street, and we're going to see in the next slides, is going to be directly influencing what is going to happen in Web3. As a result of the past year, we created a new asset classes that I believe is going to be very important for the coming future. It's called DeFi, DeFi, right? AI. And Virtual was the leading.
Yeah, because we're lagging, right? Web3 is still lagging relative to Web2.
Exactly.
Because the narratives start in Web2, but then they come to Web3.
Exactly.
Okay. And so the next token that we have here, so the first one you guys can see is an AI token. The second one we have, you know, one of your favorites, Hyperliquid.
Exactly.
Any comments on that?
I mean, as we can see, right, the number one use case for crypto to this day is speculation, and Hyperliquid killed it. I think there was a long due after FTX. We needed someone that can compete with, exactly, the biggest guy in SEX, offer the best liquidity, but all on chain.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So here, guys, have a look at some of the other best performers, once again, that have outperformed Bitcoin. We have Deepbook and Sui. It's the same ecosystem. Sui pumps. Their number one DEX also pumps. And then we have, after this, when you look at this is DeFi and blockchain layers, then we have Curve, we have Athena, we have Aave, we have Radium. Now, when we look at all of these coins, the top 8 that have absolutely destroyed Bitcoin in terms of performance, what's really interesting is 80% of them are DeFi. How come, Anthony? Why is DeFi doing so well and all the narratives doing so poorly?
It's a good question. And if you follow this conversation, since the beginning, you understood that institutional money is in control.
Yes.
And what is institutional money? It is Wall Street. And what is the first application that Wall Street is going to look after Bitcoin and Ethereum? DeFi.
Absolutely.
Right? So this is, for me, very natural that DeFi is the altcoin category that is working so well at the moment.
100%. And you know what's really funny, guys, is when we break down DeFi, there are some notable mentions. So we have added as well Pyth, Aerodrome, which is the DEX on base, and OKB, which is a SEX token. These didn't actually perform necessarily within the last year, but within the last 3 months or quarterly. So great performances. But one thing that these all have in common is something that's very, very interesting. And we're going to look at this table, which says, out of all the tokens that performed, isn't it crazy, Anthony, that it is exchanges mainly? So SEX and DEX tokens, swap platforms. How come? Why is exchanges, specifically token as an asset class, outperforming others?
Very good question. And maybe, because as we say, retail are not in control anymore. institutional are controlling this market. And what do they look for? They look for working product market fit, revenues, and buybacks.
And buybacks. Yes, absolutely. Which leads us to the next slide, guys. But before we jump into the buybacks, let's also look at the top performing stocks. Once again, September 1st, 24, September 1st, 25. And what we can see here with regards to Web 2 is that AI is the main sector. And we're going to ask you a comment on that, Anthony, a little bit later. But you can see at the bottom part, we have all the Magnificent Sevens, the big tech companies. And then we have a rocket company that's 6.5x. We have energy companies, and we have also a gaming company, Roblox. Your kids may know. I don't know if you guys play. It's a bit childish, but you never know. And there's an infrastructural play. But the funny thing here, guys, is we saw that DeFi was the main narrative in Web 3, but AI is the main narrative in Web 2. And why is that? It's because these energy companies and infrastructure companies are all for powering data centers that are for AI chips and GPUs. So what is your conclusion here with regards to the top performing stocks year on year, Anthony?
As we just say, like Web3 is lagging Web2. The consequence of that is if you look at what's going on, and most of the market cap, most of the traction in the world, the stock world, is AI. So there is very, very good chance that this altcoin season is going to be led as well by AI.
Absolutely, beautifully said. And here, guys, let's look at the biggest token buybacks. And here you're going to find some very interesting connections. So here, when we look at a scale, the biggest company that buybacks in 2024 to 2025 is Hyperliquid. 97% of all their revenues is being put into token buybacks. And that's why Hyperliquid is the best performing asset in the past 2 years. But I also believe it's the most efficiently run company in the history of mankind, because they're only, less than 20 foundational members, right? So it's crazy how they pumped.
Yeah, I think they're the most, as you say, efficient. So revenue per employee,
exactly.
They are the top of the world, right?
Crazy.
And the next one is not very, it is only fun, right? So it's
something that's quite different. So you guys see here, these are all the biggest token buybacks year on year. Now look at the correlation. This is the interesting aspect of everything. The correlation is almost perfectly positively correlated. And let's connect the dots together. So here you can see on the left-hand side, all the best performing tokens. Here on the right-hand side, you can see all the biggest token buybacks. Now look at this, guys. Out of 8 of these token projects, 5 of them are linked to the biggest token buybacks in the game. And if we want to take a conclusion here, you may ask yourself, yeah, but what about Jupiter? Why didn't that be amongst the top performing tokens? Well, it's very simple. If you do $20 to $30 million in buybacks, but you emit new airdrops of roughly the value of $53 million, you just take $53 million as a negative and $20 million as a positive, there's going to be more sell pressure than buy pressure. So obviously that doesn't work. And when we look at Syrup Maple Finance, which has 20% of its revenues put into buybacks, $1 million a year is not enough to really pump a token. So we see, number one, that there is a very big importance of how many tokens are being emitted on the market versus how many are being bought back. But there's also a problem of fundamentals, right? And let's have a look at stocks. And then maybe, Anthony, you can give us some commentary on the stocks. So stocks as well, guys. This is very interesting because Web3 and Web2 are also correlated. And if you look at all the biggest token buybacks in the stocks, which is on the right of this slide, you can see that once again, it's almost perfectly correlated. And the only stock, which was Apple, that did lots of buybacks, that didn't necessarily have a big pump, was mainly due to Wall Street not liking the fact that Apple is doing too many buybacks and not investing enough in R&D and getting an edge in the AI space. Is that more or less your reading of how these stocks performed?
Exactly, yeah. We know that specifically tech stocks, they love buybacks. They love to be in control. They love, and it works. It works very well.
It works very, very well. And here there is one very important component that you guys understand, that whether you're buying stocks, whether you're buying tokens, buybacks, it's clear to say and safe to say, this is the new narrative, right? This is the new narrative.
Exactly, yeah.
And so here, let's have a look at a framework that we believe at SwissBorg is a great framework for you to decide which coins and tokens will really, really pump here onwards. Because some of you must be saying like, oh, I wish I had a 20x on virtuals. Oh, I wish I had a 7x or 10x on Hyperliquid. What is the formula behind that? Well, let's look at this, guys. On the left-hand side, you can see that we're trying to maximize buy pressure. On the right-hand side, we're trying to minimize sell pressure. Very basic up until here, right? But let's go a little bit deeper to understand the true formula behind this. We have to break that down into two core segments. The community, which is what matters the most. By the way, we love you guys. Asha, Fire, Larios, Alexi, Matisse, SwissBorg Mania, Dennis, Kurtz, Matisse. Thank you so much for joining the stream. We love you guys so much. And these segments are very, very important, okay? But let's break them down into 4 quadrants. Quadrant number 1. Here we can see that the first important quadrant is people will exchange their money to buy your token. So it has to have value. And that value is defined based on how many utilities your tokens has, right? Up until here, it's very, very clear. Quadrant number 2, which you can see on the top right, is are people going to be loyal enough to lock their tokens in a longer run? And this is loyalty through lockups. Quadrant number 3, we're going to look at what we're talking about today, which is buybacks. Massive, you need to have fundamentals in order to have sustainable buybacks, which we'll talk about. What are the best buybacks in order to have a token that pumps? And then last but not least, burning. Now, burning is good, but there are some limitations to burning. How do you feel, Anthony, about quadrant number 4 specifically?
Yeah, burning is good, as we've seen, but again, it's not a necessity. I think you can buy back and you can do something else with it. A good example of that is Hyperliquid is not burning. So I think the most important part of all this quadrant is how committed you are with your buyback. And we've seen that with Hyperliquid, they are strongly committed. 97% of their revenue is going to buyback.
Absolutely. And if I may add, burning is very good for the companies who have huge amounts of revenues, like Binance with a BNB, OKX with OKB, right? These may help in the longer run. So not discrediting this strategy, but once again, the best performing tokens year on year did not do any burns. And then here, if we go a little bit further, guys, let's have a look at some examples of tokens. So in quadrant number 3, you can see Pump.Fund. So Pump.Fund are doing lots and lots of buybacks, don't necessarily have strong utility, but that's helping the price action. Radium doing lots and lots of buybacks. And so you have different tokens in different quadrants. Solana, 64% of all supply is locked up. So people are buying and they're just locking up to earn yields. Then we have other tokens here like PancakeSwap, like Cake Virtuals that have good utilities for AI agents. You have Hyperliquid, which literally has all of these, 1, 2, 3 quadrants, so perfectly placed in the middle. And we're going to talk about other tokens such as Borg, which we believe we have some very exciting news. So stay tuned for those news. But without further ado, let's look at one last slide, which I want to ask you, Anthony. I know you have a very strong opinion about this, but a lot of people out there are wondering, what is better? Should I have a token that will give me yield or a stock that gives me dividends? Or should I have a token that has strong buybacks or a stock that has strong buybacks? Let us know your thoughts, Anthony.
It's a very good question. So let's be fair, right? If I look at this problem from a psychological point of view, I would say that dividends give me comfort as an investor because I'm receiving money, right? And it's predictable. But the seasoned investor, they will not look at things this way. Warren Buffett is always saying, buybacks. I will never buy a company with dividends because buybacks are much better. And here's the reason why. As a company, you know very well your product. You have asymmetrical information. You as a retail investor, you have a very little amount of access of information. So this dividend that goes back to your pocket doesn't allow you to perform more than if I was investing on your behalf. So that's essentially what it is. I'm not a fan of dividend. I think, again, it is a form of comfort for the investor, so it could be a good marketing trick. But when you look at this lens from a pure investor perspective,
Fundamentals perspective, right?
Fundamentals perspective, buyback are powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you said is really key. You said it gives you comfort and increases the long-term holdings. And I think a lot of people can deduce that the buybacks actually bring buy pressure, right? So hodling and buying back is very, very different on the buy pressure standpoint. I think it's also tax efficient based on some countries. Some people say income tax is a lot higher than capital gains tax, so that's the second reason. And then the third reason, I think that's very important, Anthony, if you're willing to buy back your token and sacrifice your revenues, what does that tell you about the C-suite? What does that tell you about leadership within the company that's doing it?
They're very confident about the future and their ability to sustain revenue.
Absolutely. You hear that, guys? So by being confident as a C-suite, if you do big buybacks, then you're building confidence amongst your investors. Exactly. Anything to add on that?
So maybe it's time to wrap it up, because I feel like I can see the community is waiting.
Yes.
They feel like there is something big coming.
Yes.
So let's wrap it up. So Alex, what did we learn about altcoin season, and what do we learn about buybacks today?
Buybacks, buybacks, buybacks. So let's look at a summary for you guys to understand what is the most effective buyback. Now, from the top of your head, Anthony, just tell us, what do you think is very important in the magic recipe of having an effective buyback?
One word: strong.
Strong.
You have to be committed, right? So buyback can only work if it becomes the company objective, if it becomes the top priority of the company. Of course, the company is making revenue. That's always the top priority. But if you're committed to use this revenue for buybacks, you're going to win.
100%. And strong, I think, is very beautiful. We learned in the past, if you do 5% of revenues, 10% of your revenues, 12% of revenues, it can help hold the price, but it won't pump the price.
You create a floor.
Exactly, it creates a floor. I think that's a really good one. Sustainable buyback. So what we mean by sustainable buyback is that it cannot be a one-off, right? Some people use it as a marketing coup and they can't sustain it, which is a problem because you want to keep building that price action. Number three, want it to be scalable. So have more and more products and features, right, that can encourage and empower the buyback to be bigger and bigger, right? So that can absorb future sell pressure. And then not only maximizing buy pressure, but minimizing sell pressure. As you guys can see here, are there any that you want to comment on, Anthony? We have high decentralization of the token, low token emission, a high percentage of supply locked. Any comments on this?
I think as you will see in many examples that there is in the space, you were mentioning Jupiter, and one of the key, let's say, challenge that they face is relative new token. So they already, like the inflation of the supply, available supply is high. But when you look at token, the more history, and they are much more distributed as a consequence because they've been here for a long time, I will have a tendency to believe that buybacks will operate better.
Absolutely. And the magic formula to really have asymmetrical returns on your token is to have a token that has lower liquidity and high price impacts. But we won't spoil everything, will we? So without further ado, guys, Anthony, is it time?
I think it's time. I mean, the path is very clear.
It's very clear.
Is it time to take off?
I think it's time to take off. But before we jump into the future, let's have a look at the past.
You're ready for the SwissBorg battle contest? Yeah!
Hi. And I'm not the wife.
Hello everybody, how's everything going? Hello everybody, woo!
Hello everyone, I'm Anthony, this is Marco.
This is the SwissBorg team. We will go to the end of the mountain and we will make it. Despite all these difficulties and snow, we will proceed and we will make it.
First though, we have to ask the big question, what is SwissBorg?
I have no clue.
SwissBorg.
SwissBorg is the new era of crypto wealth management.
Imagine a world where private banking is accessible to everyone.
Hey guys, I hope you're doing well and that you're enjoying the last day of our ICO.
Who here was shocked recently based on Ethereum's price drop? In terms of SwissBorg, the CHSB token, we also experienced a huge drop. As a matter of fact, Ethereum in its peak, compared to the price now, dropped 89%. And when we ICO'd earlier this year in January, we experienced the biggest bubble burst in the crypto space. Now I'm gonna be honest with you guys. When I started off, when I kicked off with SwissBorg, knowing that my little brother was the co-founder and worked so hard.
Power, yo yippee, yay guys. This is Power Deal number 4, number 15, number 46. This is one of the most beautiful day I ever had.
I was really emotionally attached to the project. I didn't know if he would succeed or not, to be very honest. But what I did know is, no matter what, I would be there until the last second. I would do my very best for the love of my brother. The future is bright. The future is bright, my friends.
We will have the BTC and the BNB yield coming. There is key component that will make you succeed. Hard work, dedication, and focus. Focus is very important because focus is about choosing an objective and making sure that your entire team is aligned with this objective. That will make your success.
What the heck happened?
Oh man.
Anthony, we're in the galaxy.
Wow, we're taking off. There is no coming back.
Guys, are you still with us? Are you still with us in the shuttle? Are you ready for the next and most exciting chapter?
I'm very excited, but there is something missing.
There are 2 people missing.
Very important people. Shall we call them out?
Let's call them out. 3,
2, 1.
Kenny, Benji, how are you?
Captain Cyrus, great. How about you?
Anthony, Alex, how are you?
How are you guys? We're doing great.
Great! Wait, one thing we have to first we need to check the Shisha scope. And with the Shisha scope, we have to figure out the coordinates of where we're gonna find our map to financial freedom.
Tell me what you see.
I can't see much right now, I can't see much. Wait, I can see something there, wait. On CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko, it's not very visible. Looks a little bit tricked there, but it's fine, wait. I see something standing at 430 million market cap.
Okay.
Is that possible?
It's possible, but it's...
Okay, something like, I think ranking around 200, 212.
Okay.
I see 4 letters from far away. Stands for B,
Okay.
O, R, and G.
All right.
Can you go get it right now?
Yes, I have everything I need.
Look at this. Is this the coordinate? Wait, this is the code. The code is that to bring us to financial freedom. Is this what it is?
I think it is. Let me see. It's the Borg blueprint. It's what is going to pump Borg up. How
To
infinity. Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. I hope you guys are well, excited. It's very excited to be with you. Thanks, Anthony and Alex, for the fantastic presentation, understanding how essentially we're able to understand the market cycles, understand as well what are the things that makes it pump. And here now, this presentation is to understand how we at SwissBorg position ourselves, and of course reveal the different secrets about how is the next big chapter of Borg going to fuel the world, fuel yourself, and lead you to where we all need to go, which is financial freedom.
Exactly. Should we get started with some slides?
Ah, yes, that's the best thing to do. Couldn't be more excited than that. And obviously our vision here is helping users achieve financial freedom, right? That's the number one thing that we always strive to do, which is extremely important, right? And if we then could go to the next slide, is that we always make sure that how do we make this happen, right? You could look at it in multiple different ways, but one of the most important way actually to make this happen is by actually building a community-centric, innovative wealth management products, right? And then the second, which is very important with this, is as well to empower users to grow and protect their assets, right? This is something that's very important. And now if you look at the 4 different ways of the strategic pillar, what's the most important thing first, as always?
It has to be the community.
It has to be the community. Then the second one, what we always look at is for sure building trusts. And right after trust, what we have to have is obviously is innovation, because innovation is one of the great things that enables all of us to get to the next step, to make something much, much better and brighter, of course. And last and not least, which is very, very, very here important as well, is to make things that are very easy to use, right? The making things that are easy, that are convenient, that anyone is able to just click in within one button and just make it happen, right? Because we know that why TradFi has only been used by elites, because it's very complicated, right? And that's something that we really try to remove it. That's why we always said, making wealth management fun, fair, and community-centric, which then transpires into this community trust, innovation, convenience, right? The higher, bigger, goal is eventually to have 1 million Borgers to be financially free. That's a huge, obviously goal to make it happen. But this is what I've been working very hard myself, Benji, of course, Anthony, Alex, and all we together think this is possible. This is something is possible. Already, some of us already that stage. And why is it so important is because when you're financially free, then your ego gets away, your problems get away, and you're able to become the best version of yourself. So this is really something that resonates, I think, to many people, and it's things we really have to work to get to there. So we've always said the CHSB, right, or the Borg was the masterpiece of our ecosystem. And I think this is very true, right? We've done everything possible to say, okay, how do you create premium suites where it's not about status? It's about how you experience within the SwissBorg app the best way, essentially, to get to build your wealth, right? By becoming different premiums, there's essentially different ranks with this. And it's a really program that was optimized to grow your wealth in the best way. Is this really worth it or not? Well, obviously it is. If you look at the amount of premium benefits per year, it went from 60 million, 30 million each year. So a lot of people saved some money or had higher yields and a better experience. So there was strong fundamental value to go into these different premium tiers, right? But then we said, okay, if we build on this very great premium, we said, okay, if you look here carefully, every time there's a pump in Borg, people are actually buying Borg tokens or CHP back then to accumulate them, to stake them, right? In the first, if you guys remember, it was Genesis, then it was community. We had a lot of different premiums and we had a lot of people just staking more and buying. And we had this special formula was saying that the magic number of new users is between 12 to 15K per month. When we have this amount of people that are on board, we know that a certain amount are going to convert, get into premium, and this is going to pump a huge amount of Borg. And it's exactly what has done. But it happened that there was no hyper growth within SwissBorg since 2021. There's been growth, steady growth at some times, but we never got into this crazy euphoric, phase that we had in 2021. And you had as well the other side, which is we're growing in terms of SwissBorg premium users, but if you remove one Genesis with 50K versus like Explorers or Pioneers or whatsoever, that unfortunately it diminishes a bit. So even if you have few people that went out the program and some people getting in, it pretty much matches the net premium of people within the SwissBorg app. So our biggest goal that we have from last time we did the slides, if you guys remember, was we need to double up, right? We need to go from 48K to 100,000 users, premium users. We need to have 300,000 token holders, 400 million Borg staked. And unfortunately, Borg staked, we're not too far from that, thanks to Benji here. But the others, we really have not been able to make this work. And this is one of the reasons why Borg has not essentially blew up as we wish, right? We all the basics that we wanted was on how can the Borg pump if we have growth? So we did this in a very smart way, but is there a better way, Benji?
100%. I believe that there is a better way that will get all of these metrics completely destroyed very, very quickly.
Okay, I'm very excited about that. Benji now managing the loyalty team. I couldn't be more excited about what's coming next.
So some of you may know that we are going to be shipping the loyalty ranks. Loyalty ranks, what is it? Essentially, it's a fusion, a merge between the camps that you know that you have in your app today and the premiums that you also have in your app today. We decided that the best way to have the most staked Borg possible is to have one unique, one-size-fits-all staking pool, staking system that really gets you a bang for your buck. So we came up with the loyalty ranks, and we're really, really excited to show you more screens about how it's going to look and exactly what it's going to be. So if you look at the previous systems, the premium tier, a lot of people were saying that the fees are too high anyway. The 12-month lock is a little bit too long. It's frustrating. It's a bit of a constraint. The benefits aren't very clear. And then the Borg journey, unfortunately, didn't get the appeal that we were hoping it to get. And it just, a lot of people have not heard of it. So after looking at all of these feedbacks, we've decided, okay, let's take these two products, find out what works and what doesn't, and build one unified system with all of the good sides and none of the bad sides. And that way we'll be able to give more Borg to people, incentivize staking and locking into the new system, and especially clarify all of the perks that you're getting for your Borg, really enlightening the value that you get out of having Borg and locking Borg, very importantly. So today we have 10,000 Borgers that are locking their tokens. They're getting alpha opportunities, they're getting governance reward between 3 and 5% APY the last year. They're getting better APYs on earn, discontinued fees on other products, and also there is one more big surprise that we're talking about later. But all of this will be much clearer in the app. You'll be able to compare one tier from the other. You'll be able to see if you're platinum, if you're gold, if you're silver, which are, by the way, ranks that people understand much better than the current Explorer community that we have. And you'll also be able to increase directly by clicking on just 2 taps. It will pre-fill, it will be beautiful. And yeah, this is going to be coming soon. We're announcing the date right at the end of the presentation. You'll have to give a like and a subscribe if you want me to get faster through these slides. So moving on, we'll be migrating the Borg from the premium tiers. If you're currently Generation, Genesis, Explorer, or Community, we'll be migrating those Borg from the old staking pool to the new one, and you'll have nothing to do. Everything will be taken care of. You'll be in the rank system, and these tokens are also eligible for governance, which means that before you couldn't get the 3 to 5% APY I was talking about, but in a few weeks from now, you'll be able to, once again, smash like for the right dates that will be released very, very shortly. So we'll also be looking at the website. Something that's extremely important is organic growth. How do you want to get more people to stake Borg? You need more people to see SwissBorg. You need more people to, when they go on internet and they type, where should I buy my Bitcoin? SwissBorg needs to be up there. SwissBorg needs to be at the top. So we're really revisiting the website, not only by adding simulators and a way for you to be able to calculate and plan your wealth growth until financial freedom, but also by adding a lot of keywords that are important so that SEO looks at us and selects us first. Because every time we get someone to join the app, we'll be pushing premium and the ranks that you've just seen onto their screens a lot. And there is one big thing with it too.
A little bit like a wealth planner, and understanding your journey, understanding how to get there and how can you grow from that.
Exactly. So how do you measure in Borg how you're growing from that? How you're going from a beginner and someone who's just starting in crypto, who's just, you know, buying a little bit of Bitcoin to see how it is, until someone who's really, really an expert of sorts, and who's going to have a lot of crypto, know exactly which tokens to buy, when, how, and the best ways to do all of that. So these premium tiers are now going to be able to guide you and show you how much you've got to grow and how much you've grown already. We have the standard, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, and elite. Need to click a lot here in order to get all of these ranks out there. But the biggest thing is that the current lock time is 1 year. And you remember at the beginning I said that we were going to bring that lock time down to make it a lot more convenient for everyone to lock their Borg. So we're bringing it down to 2 weeks. Just that I realized that we've brought it down from 52 weeks to 2 weeks, which means that by the time you've unlocked your tokens, you can actually do it twice and you'll get your next paycheck. This is so close that it is not a constraint anymore. The constraint is completely removed.
So how many tokens do you need to get to these different ranks?
Well, this is exactly the tricky part. So since we made it so much more easy to go up and down in the ranks depending on what's convenient for you, you unfortunately need to log a little bit more in order to start your journey into financial freedom. So bronze is going to be at 1,000 Borg, silver 3,000 Borg, gold 10,000, platinum 30,000, diamond 60,000, and elite 100,000. These tiers are there because obviously since it's only 2 weeks cooldown, it's actually very easy to get into it. And also we believe that we're going to be showing enough inside the app how amazing it is, considering the perks, considering the website, the planning, all of these things that we've been given. It's not just making the app more beautiful, it's making Borg more appealing as well. So now you're looking at all of these perks and you're like, okay, Benji, 100,000 tokens, this is a lot. What do I get for it? Well, the elite rank actually will come with extra benefits. There is going to be a ranking that is dynamic inside it that's going to allow you to know if you are one of the biggest elites, so for example in the top 10, or one of the beginner elite in the top 1,000, and then you're competing within the other elites.
So what you're saying, in other words, is that back in the day, like the highest rank was essentially, let's say, Genesis and then Generation, so 50 to 20,000. Now there's infinite amount of ranks. So there's no like, I have enough.
Exactly. There is no more cap on how many perks you can get inside the SwissBorg app. Before with 50,000, you had everything that you could dream of. And now there are even better perks that we're implementing, new things, ecosystem rewards, which is a big one we'll talk about in a second. You have dedicated RMs, direct contact with upper management, including us, exclusive opportunities, the best perks in the business, and of course the events such as the one we're going to do right after this show in Lausanne. So there's no more limit. You don't need 20,000, you can have more. You don't need 50,000, you can have more. And what you're getting, one of the big things is the ecosystem rewards. There will be airdrops that will be done to the elite users worth more than $10 million worth. This is insane. It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, and it can only grow if we have better projects that essentially are able to go into the SwissBorg ecosystem.
Exactly. The biggest question is, but where does this money come from? Well, it comes from the ecosystem projects, Borg, Galactica, Agora, Borgi, and there are more to come. We won't talk about those too much here, but basically it's an ever growing pot, and you definitely want to have a share of that if you're interested in, of course, making money. Which is, I hope, something that most people want if they're trying to achieve financial freedom. Now, moving on. There is some help that will be done because we value loyalty. Obviously, loyalty squad, we need to put into highlight how people who have joined us a long time ago and been loyal to the app and participated in a lot of our events, in the games, in the Series A, are getting perks. So we're bringing in a multiplier, which means that one locked Borg will be worth more than 1 point for some people. These people are the ICO participants, so the people who helped found the app and get the funds to really get it going all together, but also the Genesis Premium, who are the people who have locked 50,000 tokens for a whole year with us, who have been loyal and still there in the app. They'll be getting 1.3x multiplier as well. But a new cohort that hasn't had that many perks so far are the Series A participants, and they're getting a multiplier as well, 1.2, which means that each of your locked Borg is worth 20% more, which is very good. And the last cohort is the Community App Hall of Fames. This was a long time ago in the Community App. People could bet if Bitcoin was going to go up or down. They're also getting a boost just because we can. And if you have multiple of these boosts, you're telling me, well, what do I get? Does it add up? Does it not? It does actually kind of add up. If you have Series A and Genesis Premium, you'll be getting an OG boost worth 1.4, which means your one Borg blocked is worth 40% more than someone who doesn't have this. And if you have ICO and Genesis and Series A participation, it's the ultimate grail, and you are considered a SwissBorg founder, you get a 1.5 boost, which means 50% more. And they should appear on the slides right about now. Here we go.
Perfect. And another click and we're done. That's the OG.
That's the OG.
But wait, let's take this boomerang right now and just throw it around, and we spin it around by clicking on magic button. And
Where did it go?
I don't know. I think so. We forgot to click on that button.
It went that way.
It did it. Alex, spin it to you.
Alex has no mic.
For that, could you get the mic back? Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can.
Hey, thank you so much for the great explanation. That was very, very cool. I'm super excited to see that you guys are optimizing everything within the Borg ranks and having something that really appeals to everyone. And you know, a lot of people here have been guessing based on the Borg back meta tag or hashtag on X that what we would do here is create a mechanism and a system that is based on cashbacks. But what if I told you guys that we have something that is even more effective than cashbacks? And here, let's give you some context. But number one, it's very important to understand that the most advanced and effective system that we're going to do is what we call paid to trade. Now, Anthony, that sounds like a huge buzzword, but how crazy does that sound to you as someone who's been in finance for more than 2 decades now? Have you ever seen a platform in the world that could pay you to trade?
Alex, I don't believe you. You have to explain me more, because it doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem to make sense. Can you tell me more?
Of course, it doesn't seem like it makes sense at all, guys. You all agree with us here, right? But let's have a look specifically at what the previous models were with regards to SEX and DEX token utilities. So the most common one, which was innovated by Binance through BNB, is the discounted fees model that is paid in-kind tokens with their own BNB token. And here you would look at the process and the system behind it, which is people would buy BNB tokens, right? They would trade, and those fees would be taken from the BNB tokens and would give you a discount on the trading fees. Now, the caveat of that mechanism is you always have to constantly trade nonstop to go up in tiers. So it's not just about how many tokens you buy. So that is not very convenient for, let's say, the active traders, but are not active at trading every single day. And so let's say, for instance, if you had to pay $100 in fees, you could get, for example, $25 back or $30 back. But Anthony, I want to ask you, if we went through the pay-to-trade model, and if BNB or Binance had applied our pay-to-trade model and system, how different would it be with that same exact trader?
It would have been very, very different. Because if you think about it, right? When BNB issued their token at the ICO time, it was 10 cents. Now it's $1,000, right? So it's 10,000x in front of you. So the problem there is for actually traders, when they get the discount, they have to pay in BNB. So they give up, so to save dollar, they give up on crypto, which is the opposite of why we're in crypto. So maybe there is a solution to do better. What can you tell us about it?
I can tell you that is totally possible. Look at the results for yourself, guys. So you take the same model, apply it to BNB, as Anthony was saying, if you had gotten a cashback in BNB tokens, and you did that, let's say, for example, during 2021, 2022, and you had kept those BNB tokens over time because you had a bullish sentiment, you felt like this company is doing well, they have strong utilities, they have revenues, fundamentals, I'm just gonna hold the cash back rather than just flipping it overnight. Well, if that were the case, as you can see here on the chart, guys, you would have 6x your amount of money. So for $100 of fees, you would have received $600 of fees, which gives you a net profit of $500 in fees. Insane, no?
Amazing, amazing.
It's absolutely amazing, guys. And just to show you a little more on what this concept is like, let's have a further look. So once again, you could also, right, Anthony, if you don't necessarily want to just flip the token in the future, you could just keep stacking the token, increasing your trading volume, and getting access to more and more perks, right? Tell us a little bit more what you had in mind with that.
Yeah, I think it's really the key of the flywheel. So you might say, I would like one day to be elite, right? So Benji showed us how amazing it is to be elite in the SwissBorg app. But you might say to yourself, I don't have the money to spend. But with this new system that you're going to explain in more details, you don't even have to buy. You just have to create a lot of activity within the app, and you will constantly create a stack. The stack will get you to better rank. The better rank will give you more cash back. Maybe we're going to see that.
Yes, exactly. So let's look at the system. So already you guys can see that the paid to trade, as someone who swaps or uses an app to trade tokens is superior than the discounted fee model, especially when you have a rewarded an asset that has potential price appreciation. Now let's dive a little bit deeper. Now let's be very honest, right? Nothing is perfect. There are always pros and cons to everything. So we have to be very honest. What if you had received BNB tokens at the end of a bull cycle and the market actually crashes? So potentially in that type of mechanism, when you're transitioning from a bull to a bear cycle, then all of a sudden you can see here, the pay to trade model is actually not as good as a SEX, which is based on the dollar value, or a DEX, like some Aerodrome or sort of V22 models that give you a piece of their shares, which not all DEXs do. But in a bull cycle, or even at the end of a bear cycle, if you're using the pay to trade model and you're accumulating tokens and you keep them for a bull cycle, then all of a sudden the pay to trade model is the #1 exchange token utility model and system across any of these tokens. And you can see here, because let's just do a little bit of math, right? Let's imagine Anthony is paying $30 a month by trading on the SwissBorg app. And the current price of the token is 40 cents. But you keep the token, the Borg tokens, when you get the cashback, until the Borg goes to 80 cents. Then all of a sudden, what happens there, Anthony?
You are paid to trade.
You are paid to trade, guys. And that is the perfect flywheel, right? Where you incentivize the traders, you incentivize the Borg token holders, and you give a future expectation of price appreciation, and it goes even deeper than that, guys. This is something that Anthony, with your genius brain, have come up with, actually. And let's have a look at this speedometer. So Anthony, here on the left side, we see cashback model. But on the right side of the speedometer, we see paid to trade. What are you trying to explain with this?
It's a very good question. So it's a complex chart, but let's try to break down the mechanics. So when I will trade, I will pay fees. And based on my rank, we're going to see very soon how many cashback I can get. I'm going to receive a portion back of these fees, right? And that's what it is, right? But what is more interesting is, because the price of the token is going to be very much influenced by the buyback, they are going to be done by revenue. The more volume there is on the platform, the more this portion of fees that I receive back increase its likelihood to be above the fees I pay. So what does it mean concretely? Just to be simple, because there was so many definitions at once. I pay $1 fees, and in 1 month I get something, and this something can be more than the dollar I pay. And this is how the pay to trade works. So the pay to trade is going to be directly correlated with the volume. The more you trade, the more cashback you receive, but the more the others are receiving the cashback. So the result of that, it creates more volume to a point where gradually then we convert to the pay to trade model. And it's a really
self-sustainable, self-fulfilling system. Yeah, absolutely. And we'll give you some specific numbers later. But Cyrus and Benji, I must ask you guys, how do you feel about the paid to trade model and system to ensure that the Borg token price appreciates?
Well, I think that, it's been a long time. We've always thought about what is the best element and how can we as founders, as community members, as partners within SwissBorg, try to find the very best model for this. And I think so this is it. We turn around a lot of different things and the premium is great, governance is great, but this is the one where you could capture the essence of the entire wealth creation within SwissBorg. So I think this is exactly the best for people that are going to be trading within SwissBorg, but as well people out of it saying like, okay, these guys actually, create, token and economics that finally brings and captures value within the SwissBorg ecosystem, right? There's a small amount of projects that today can justify any fundamental value within their token, right? People raise billions or millions and their tokens, their revenue is zero, or the company makes a lot of revenue, but there's no real attachment from revenue to the token. Here's exactly the opposite. It's how you flip the whole thing around and you say, okay guys, now we create this token and this is the only way that this is gonna work. Much more powerful than buyback, going all the way to pay to trade that brings this financial freedom where people will escalate and climb ladders. Let's go to the next slide.
Yes, I was going to tell you, Sai. I was going to tell you exactly this, and the news gets even better, guys. So already imagine a world where you get cash back, lower fees, and a world, ideally, where you're actually paid to trade, which is absolutely crazy. And I'm 110% convinced that it's going to happen, where people will actually be in profit for trading, which has never happened in the history of finance. But what if it gets even better? We're going to cue a video for you to understand how this paid-to-trade system will actually be systematic for the Borg token. Let's have a look.
The most powerful utility is when every trade buys back Borg.
How do you guys feel about that?
Amazing.
Regardless if people care or not about the Borg token, every single trade, whether they're buying Bitcoin, whether they're playing with meme coins, will pump the heart of the ecosystem. And Cyrus, I must say, do you think that now it is very obvious and clear to say that Borg is the heart of the SwissBorg ecosystem?
It's always been the heart, I would say, in terms of ethos and in terms of thinking and belief. And, this thing is just on my heart. So 100% agree on that. But now, again, it's in the DNA of every trade. You cannot trade within the SwissBorg app without essentially buying some Borg. You can't sell anything within the SwissBorg app without actually buying some Borg. So this is now where it gets really, really exciting. And there's much more news to that, which is really cool, because obviously we need growth as well, and we still believe that growth is a great way to push. So Benji, what we figure out for growth?
There were these burdens that I was talking about at the very beginning of the presentation with the old premium tiers. And one of them in the first line was the fees are unfortunately a little bit too high. And if you ask ChatGPT, it will say, yes, SwissBorg comes with a premium. Yes, it's great. There's safety. There's the whole ethos community. You get a lot more out of it. But still, if you're a robot, you don't see these things. Emotions don't count. And caring about your users also doesn't count in the eyes of an AI. So we decided to align with competitors, become even cheaper than we are, with the same ethos, same founders, same everyone. We decided to bring back the fees to 0.99% for standard users. This means that the base fee is now less than 1%, making us much more appealing in the search engines that I was talking before, and really aligning with the big growth that we're aiming with this massive new feature. Now, you're going to ask me, okay, Benji, great, now it's 0.99, but I'm already in a rank. I already have a premium. I'm going to be transferred into the ranking system. How much am I going to get? What is going to be my fee? Well, I'm going to give you the cashback rates right now. So for bronze, you start with a 15% cashback. With silver, 30%. Gold, 50%. Platinum, 65%. Diamond.
We need to click the next slides.
We need to cue the video. Benji, let's cue the video.
Yes, I got a bit excited, huh? I was doing them all by mind. I was
like, doesn't matter, I'll go with the flow. That's how much Benji loves his work, guys. He has no slide in front of us. He just knows exactly what it is because it's in his heart.
Go by heart. So yeah, as you just seen, 90% discount for the elite. I've done the math here for you. It was very difficult, but basically 0.1, 0.2, 0.35, 0.5, 0.7, and 0.85. Just if you pause and you remember the thresholds that I talked about before with 10,000 Borg, which is twice less than generation, and you get 0.5% fee, which is exactly the same thing, considering you have 50% cashback. This means that if you pay $1 fee, you'll get 50 cents in Borg, and you'll pay the same thing as you had last time with twice less locked and a lot less of a cooldown to wait for. Standard even gets a cashback.
What that means is that anyone within the SwissBorg app today, standard or not, will actually own some Borg tokens.
Exactly.
So which is beautiful here is that not only this will pump the price, it will help to grade, but it's the best discovery, right? You're getting essentially free tokens and you're like, oh, well, I think so this is nice as a standard. But what if I could move on to maybe, bronze the check, and then you get more and more and you say, actually, I have much more money than that. I could actually directly go to gold or to platinum or whatever. So this is fantastic, Benji.
Yeah, and if you look, like from standard, you have 5% cashback. In bronze, you have 15. So when you'll be doing a trade as a standard, we are going to say you could get 3 times more cashback if you just lock 1,000 tokens. And tell me that doesn't sound extremely sexy. Has to. Of course, we'll have more growth, and this is exactly what we're aiming for. But for the user, for people, for the community, what does that mean in terms of reaching your goals?
Yeah, I mean, what is very important again is that, of course, it's a gamified version of how you would climb the ranks, but more importantly, it's something that really enables you to get to that financial freedom and climbs those ladders. And this is something that people really should understand, and how this token now is that financial freedom token, right? How this token enables you to have the best experience within the SwissBorg app, and how you're able to, elevate yourself and get to where you deserve to be. If we get now to the next slide, we would like to explain how it works, Benji. So let's give the example where I'm a gold member, right? How much is a gold member, if you could remind us?
10,000 Borg.
10,000 Borg right now, right? So this is what is almost an equivalent of upper bracket of Pioneer.
Yeah.
Right? So in this case, I receive 50% cash back. So what does that mean? If I do a trade, for example, of, let's say, $1,000, so 0.1 BTC, if we click on the next slide, I do that swap, that happens, and then we go to the next one. What happens, Benji?
So SwissBorg has a 9.9 USDC fee, which is what you'll see in the transaction, and that will be deducted from the exchange from Bitcoin to USDC. We always take the destination currency. And then what do we do with that currency?
Well, that's the beautiful thing. Within the next week, you're actually gonna get back 50% of that in Borg tokens. And how do we do that? Is that every week we will have enough budgets that will be calculated based on all the trading fees that will get into a pool to buy back the Borg on the markets directly. So in this case, as you said, it's $1,000 trade. 1% goes to, a little bit less than 1% goes to essentially SwissBorg, which is $9.9. If you essentially have gold, that means you have 50% in cash back. So you have roughly $5 that goes back to you in Borg, well, when we buy it the following week on the market.
And if we just think of it for a second, here we took an example with the gold rank, which is actually very attainable. But if you look at someone who's elite, which is the top rank, they're only paying 1.1 USDC fee to swap 1,000 from Bitcoin. Only 1.1. This is crazy. It's the most competitive you can ever get. And that also means, we'll look at it later, but paid to trade means that this 1.1, it means that you get 8.8 USDC back in Borg. If that Borg goes up just 10%, the 1.1 is already completely consumed and you've paid 0. And then if it goes up 15%, you stop being paid to trade. And we've seen the last month, what is Borg up? Like
45% more?
45%. So in less than a month, it's almost as if a gold member would have paid 0 fees from a month ago just by keeping the Borg in that.
That's what pay to trade is.
That's what pay to trade is. I mean, you're being paid to trade, literally. So in this slide, I wanted to go over just the main fundamental of why it's going to be so strong. We've looked at what's going to happen in the app, how you can benefit the most out of it, what's the feature going to look like, what it's going to bring, what we're aiming to do. But now we're going to look into the price action of Borg. We're going to do some predictions and we're going to reveal some numbers just so you can realize how strong this actually is.
Listen up, guys.
This now it becomes a little bit technical. It's like a math professor you don't really want to listen to, but this one's cool because he's gonna make you some money. So imagine you're a shop owner in the middle of the desert and there's only one pool there. You control all of the clean water and you have one bottle of water, but you only have one. There's 3 people that want to buy it you're going to sell it to the person who gives you the most money for it. If you have 3 bottles of water and you only have 3 people who want to buy it, you're going to be a victim of whatever price they want to decide. What we're trying to say is the less water there is in the market, the higher the price you can set it at. And this is the same with demand and supply. Why is gold extremely valuable? Because there's less and less of it. Petrol, all of these things, commodities, are always driven by the law of demand and supply. And what we're doing with all of these buybacks, with the staking, is removing from that pool with the buckets that are right there at the bottom of the slide. So you have the market with people buying, people selling, and then you have us swooping in with a beautiful system and taking all of the water out so that you, when you're buying or when you're selling, have a bigger impact. If we look at the numbers, the buying pressure of Borg in the whole of last year was 75.6 million worth in USD. And the selling pressure was 81.2 million. This means that there's more people that were bringing water in the pool than people bringing it out. And you're going to tell me, well, Benji, what you just said before does not make sense. How could the price have gone up 30% in that time period? Well, this is because we have 10,000 people who have locked tokens in the governance model and taken water out of the pool, which made the buying stronger than the selling. And this is just the Borg locking that we had with governance. It's not at all as strong as the buyback that we just talked about, as the cashback that we just talked about, and as the ranks, who are going to be once again much more beautiful and intuitive. How do you feel about that side?
I feel very excited. I feel that with numbers, it makes a lot of more sense. And here we can see that with the pay to trade, there's more than that, Benji.
Yeah.
There's definitely more than that. And walk us how we are going to able to, build up more staking within the SwissBorg app.
So we already have 100 million that are staked through the governance. We also have 200 something staked through premiums.
230, yeah.
230 staked with premiums. And this is some of the supply that we're taking out of the pool, outside the market. And now we're going to be ourselves also bringing some buys and some sellers, because we're doing everything on the market. The buyback is going on the market. The cashback is given to the market as well. We're bringing in 20.8 million of buying pressure, which is 26% more buying pressure. And we're removing 12% selling pressure. So if someone wants to sell, we're buying back what they're trying to sell. It never hits the market. It just goes straight to people who are trading on the app. And we're buying it directly from this selling pressure. So it's really making this abnormality in the law of supply and demand where we're shifting it ourselves. We're taking a beautiful concept and we're shifting all of these rules. Our target is to lock 50% of the total supply to really empty out that pool that I was talking about, making the Borg token, which is the water inside, so much more valuable than it ever was.
And scarce.
And scarce.
Of course.
If you just compare with Jupiter very quickly, they have a market cap of 1.56 billion and we have 250 million when I did the slide. We will have a buyback which is roughly 50 million worth next year, considering the governance, which is a buyback that's continuing to be active, and the cashback systems.
But I think the big difference with these guys, as Alex was saying earlier, is that they do buybacks, but it doesn't match essentially their inflation, which is the release of new tokens. So this is where it becomes a game changer. Our tokens have been released pretty much.
Yeah.
There's not new agenda for this. So this is where it gets very, very exciting again, is that we essentially have a huge amount of buybacks, but not necessary distribution of new tokens that have to be unlocked for whatever reason.
Exactly. Yeah. So with the pool example that we had before, we don't have any red guys that are trying to sell the token back into the pool. We are only green. This is exactly the color of the logo. Everything's in the name, but we're only green and we're only bringing in buying power. Jupiter, unfortunately, at the moment, is bringing in a massive red guy who's pouring water into the pool and making it bigger. It's already massive because it's a 1.56 billion market cap pool, but it's also going to get bigger in the future. So that's why this is just to really illustrate how strong this buyback is. It's the same firing power, but on a much, much different scale.
So now is something that's important is for us to understand as a community. What we're saying here is that pay to trade is the new model for the board, for SwissBorg, and for everyone to understand this very well is we need to get more into trading. The more we trade, the more we have cash back, the more there's buyback. and eventually the pay-to-trade model just grows like that. It's very important for many of us to learn as well how to trade, because we know that in the previous cycle, there's probably a lot of tokens that you've had that either are not able to sell or exit, and today these tokens have never pumped and probably will never pump, right? And I think the world of crypto, but in general, the world of even equities today, it's more and more active than ever. And that is what it is, right? So I think it's very important for us as a community to understand this. And this is why with SwissBorg right now, we're doing more and more trading competitions for you guys to get used to this. It's something that's important, to be able to buy something, but to be able to exit this thing and have ability maybe to buy it back, you still believe in it, or just completely exit it, right? And this is really fundamental for all of us, is to learn how to trade. Because if you just buy and hold, that could be okay for maybe a portion of your core portfolio, but most of your satellites could eventually go to zero. And this is something that's very, 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 very important for us to realize. We're building all the best tools as well for trading. Yeah, open up your ears and eyes. There are going to be more things coming up in a couple of months.
Just one thing. Do you know what the best part is of the trading that you'll do on SwissBorg?
Tell me.
You'll be paid for it.
Oh, that's true. Paid for trade.
Paid to trade.
Let's now look at numbers and projections. How does this work? How does this make the tsunami of pump forever, ever, and ever, ever?
I think this one, we haven't heard Anthony and Alex for some time. I think this one we can throw out to Anthony. What are the 3 pillars that can impact the token price? Boomerang.
It's a very good question, Benji. So what are the 3 pillars that can actually impact the price token? Getting back to you.
Oh yeah, we should have thrown a boomerang.
Right
oh shoot! He came back.
Curveball.
There you go.
You're the
Right.
rookie, man.
I think, Sai, there's something that's really important on what you said earlier, right? Like, because the price projections that we're going to show you guys are not based on growth. It's very important to understand this, because we were very accurate in our CHSB token price projections. We're actually too conservative, those who remember, in 2019. But then, once again, we did another Borg token prediction in early 2022. And the difference between the two is that in the 2022 projections, we included growth. And so here, with regards to the Borg token, we're not including growth. We can actually increase the price of the Borg token just through the pay-to-trade model and just through the buybacks, because we're putting so much of the revenues to buy back the token that is quite illiquid relative to many other tokens, and we're going to look at that. So what is the moonshot? We know that Borg is going to outperform the market. That is a given, without growth. So if the market continues, plus the buyback, we moon. But if the market actually goes into full euphoria, plus the buyback, plus growth, then what happens there? Then sky is the limit at that specific point for Borg token price action. But how would you sum up the 3 components here, Anthony? I know that you always like to look at market behavior, specific economics and utilities and fundamentals.
Yeah, it's a very, very good question. But I think the good thing with buybacks and this new formula, it just amplifies the bull market, right? And it offers protection in the bear market, because anyway, we're going to continue to buy, right? And because the price will be lower, as a consequence, we buy more of the supply. But I think the most important mechanic to understand is you want to trade in the bull market. There is more volatility, there is more opportunity. So there is a bunch of reasons why you want to trade more. This trading more will translate directly into the price of the token. So there is really an amplifier on the upside, and there is protection on the downside.
Absolutely. And the fact that we're breaking this concept of SwissBorg is too expensive with paid to trade, that is also going to fuel growth as well. I'm sure we'll get some people who left the app who will come back. So the growth will be obvious eventually with a better system that rewards our traders and people using the app, right?
And we're convinced we will be able to reclaim part of the trading volume that our actual user, even if we don't think of new user, but actual user will potentially trading with other platforms these days because they were not happy with fees, right? So there is a bunch of reasons why, but with this new model, we're very hopeful we are going to claim back.
Absolutely, and we're not just hopeful, we have the data. So if we backtest, guys, if we took the paid to trade program and we put it back in January, I think, Benji, this is one of your favorite charts, right? This is what the Borg price would have been as of today. So today we're roughly around 40 cents, as we see.
Sorry,
And
that would have been 2 weeks ago.
that would have been
Yeah,
2
fair
weeks
enough.
ago. Yep, fair enough. But you guys
Yeah.
can see here that we would be at 80 cents. So if we implemented paid to trade and this system with Borg buybacks in January 25, as of today, we would be at 80 cents, so double the price. So this backtesting just shows you guys how effective the model truly is. Anything you want to add there, Benji?
Yeah, this is really what I like to do. I often see some projections and people telling me this will get to this price, this will get to this price, even on stocks. And I'm like, well, how can you know? If Trump tweets something, suddenly it can go down. But to really understand the power of something, you have to look at it from the past and be like, well, if it had happened before, considering we know what happened in the past, we know all of the metrics, we know the market, we know the buying pressure, we know the selling pressure, we can calculate how much impact it would have had. And this, I've done this before a month ago. I decided not to change it because, well, what's happening right now is excitement through the keynote. As people could tell that something big was coming in. Well, the market didn't anticipate this. You couldn't really predict it. So I left this slide there. We would have been higher than between 60 and 80 cents. I sincerely believe it. And we know it. We can show it. So to me, it's really like, how powerful does it get? Well, here, if we had done it in January, we would have been between 80 and $1. And if we had done this keynote 3 weeks ago, we would have been between 60 and 80 cents. And I really wanted to show that before we move on to the next slides, which are looking in the future, which we can try to predict, but obviously we don't have a crystal ball, although we know that there's one direction that's certain.
So now we go for the big reveal, right? This is where numbers care. This is where a lot of things could start to dream to get to that huge destination, right? Obviously, these numbers are calculated on multiple complex different, Monte Carlo scenarios, looking like back testing and all that. And as well, trying to figure out as well, what is going to be the future volume trading within the SwissBorg app. So it can always defy, right? Things could change and eventually, right? I don't want to make things very clear. With numbers, things changes. However, if we look at multiple different models that we have put together, the future is very bright. What do you think, Benji?
It's amazing. This is really, I mean, the top green one, I think I can't see from here how high it is, but it's probably something in the whereabouts of $8 to $10. Obviously, this would be amazing. And this would mean that a lot of stars need to line up. But you also need to think, do you believe there's going to be an altcoin season or not? Do you believe that this keynote that we've just presented, do you really believe that it's going to work? Are you genuinely excited? Do you think cashback is going to be a big thing? If everything aligns, nothing is impossible. But it won't be done just with buyback. Buyback will bring us up to a certain amount. We've seen from 0.30 to 0.60, this is buyback. But then more than that, it has to be the two other pillars. It has to be the market, and it has to be also the selling and buying pressure that align in order to make us really fly up there. But you have to also sit down and think, okay, if there's an altcoin market, we've seen that Jupiter, Binance, Bitcoin can go up 3x. For an altcoin like the size of SwissBorg, with the buying power that SwissBorg has, it's not impossible to go much higher than that.
100%. So really what you have to understand is that until today, all of our business was to say we have fundamental value, lock your tokens, trade with us, and then we refer people and grow and do this hyper growth. Now it's different. We have created a boat that doesn't need to sail. We have a boat with a freaking great motor, which is essentially paid to trade. This could bring us to a great destination. However, if you then bring the wind, which is the alt season, and you're able to bring the hyper growth, which is the second the third motor of the boat, pretty much, through the wind, right? Then you could then go much faster to your destination. And that's the beauty behind this. This is where you really want. And these numbers are really the numbers we strongly believe, like 50% of lock supply, which today was 36%. So we still need to pump that up, of course. But these are all things that I think are manageable, right? These are not numbers that are not manageable. Of course, we have to all work into them. We have to dream about them. We all have to realize eventually them. But these are numbers that we could manage to get them together. Please remind yourself, in 2019, we were less than a half a cent and we went to 160, right? So going from now 40 cents, 43 cents to $10, yeah, that's a long way, right? That's at maybe 23, 24x, but we know everything is possible within SwissBorg network. Now let's get to the next slide, Benji.
Beautifully said. Next slide.
So this is the previous slide. There you go. So Benji, you are the guardian of the guardians, right?
Yes.
What was the monthly average buyback in 24 and 25?
It was around 50K.
Is that good?
I'm very proud of the guardians.
Yeah, I could say it sucks.
Not cool.
I'm joking. So that doesn't really have a nice price impact. Anthony or Alex, you want to give me another number?
All right, I would love to
Would you
triple
agree
that.
if we triple that?
Yeah, can we triple
Yeah,
that?
triple that? Okay.
Can you explain,
So if we
Sai, what is
triple
the
that,
high
what-
impact? Can you explain what the price impact, what we see at the bottom, means?
Of course. So right now with 150, right? 150,000, we see there's a price impact. That price impact is roughly 14%, which is starting to be a little bit good. But it's not a great weekly buyback, right? It's just 14%. Can we do something like what we've done this week? Who wants to say another number, like 350? Would that be okay, Benji?
I'm happy with that.
Okay, so 350 right now. Okay, that's a nice one. Now we're like, what would have happened last week? So last week, which was not a great week, it was a good week, nevertheless, for the company in general. This would have had a net price impact of 44%.
Oh, can we just pause? When you say not last week, that's what have happened. What do you mean?
So the total collective fees of last week was roughly, was the total trading volume of last week was above 70 million, and an average 0.5% would go to this fantastic pay to trade model. And this means that, well, out of 70 million, there's 450,000 that would be the budget for this week to buy back essentially the SwissBorg token and then to reward people the following week. So in this type of week, this can have a nice price action, right?
So a normal week at SwissBorg brings us a price action of, what was the number out there? It's gone, but
it was roughly 46%.
46%.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
Guys, you have better numbers? Who wants to go crazy numbers now? Let's do for the real. Who wants crazy numbers here?
Okay, let me check with Borg, our little robot here. So Borg,
okay.
What would be the crazy number you want to do? So give me 2 minutes, guy. I'm discussing with him. He say, I will be ready to sell one of my Bitcoin, because he's a robot, he's only using crypto, when Bitcoin very soon will reach $1 million. So he's ready for 1 million, guys.
Wow.
Whoa, 1 million.
Wow.
That's a nice one. That's a nice one. Is that possible? Let's check it out right now. So a weekly buyback of $1 million. How much price impact would that have?
Has to be.
It has to be
at least 7%. No, it would be massive, but it's gone.
So based on the calculations, this would approximately, well, this is even higher ways to
No, this is a bigger one.
Yeah, this is a bigger one. So it would be roughly 124%, which is crazy. And if you go now to the highest trading week we have ever had at SwissBorg, which was 430 million, we would have roughly a buyback of 2.2 million for 1 week, and that would have created the best pump of all time, obviously, which I think says over 200%.
So you're saying this is possible?
This is possible.
Wow.
Right, and this is where people have to realize that obviously this is all connected to the health and the wealth of the Borg, of the SwissBorg ecosystem, but this again captures the very essence of it, which is trading, which is the main revenue generator of SwissBorg today, right? This is where 70% of revenue comes from, is from trading. And this is why it's so important to understand this, that trading will essentially bring a lot of value to Borg. This will enable you as well to not be the exact liquidity of other people and be able to understand that you may not have to trade every day because you have a day life or whatsoever, but you have to realize what's your entry, what's your exit. And this is something that's very important, and we have to give you education for this, or maybe you already have it, which is fantastic. You need the tools that we're building as well to make sure that this is as well easy and very convenient way to do it. And obviously the MEX has been doing fantastic. Now the limit trade of like trading Bitcoin is $1 million, which is fantastic. So we have done a lot of things that enable to create better tools for this. And of course, there's many things that you guys are waiting for that we will deliver.
And guys, there's one thing I wanted to mention as well. I hope that now at the end of the presentation, when we've talked about a lot of things, you understand why we were saying that we put Borg back at the heart of the ecosystem. And guys, what does a heart do?
Pump.
Pump. I just came up with that. I'm very proud.
That was a cool one.
Thank you.
Jimmy.
This is Jimmy. Say hi to Jimmy. Jimmy has locked 60,000 Borg tokens, I think. And then he has received $50 of cashback because Jimmy is a beautiful trader. He's traded quite a bit. He's received $50 of cashback. Then Borg went up 50% because of the buyback, which we've seen is entirely possible. And now Jimmy's cashback is worth $100, which means that Jimmy has actually made a profit on his fees, on paying his fees. Jimmy was just paid to trade.
$75, but yeah.
Yeah, it's too far for me to read. I try my best.
Well done, Jimmy.
Well done, Jimmy. Here we go. Jimmy's cashback. Yeah, it's now worth $75, which is exactly what we mean with paid to trade. You can take any premium tier. It will take a little bit more of a pump for you to be paid to trade. But if you're elite, it will be very quick. If you're diamond, it will be quick. If you're generation, if you're platinum, it will be also quick. So it's all about how much Borg you're locking, how much it's at the ecosystem, and how much it's at the heart, and then how much it will pump.
And the more you lock, the bigger the reward, which is fantastic.
The more you lock, the bigger the rewards. Oh.
So I think this again shows how you could
this
grow.
week or this month.
This month, yeah.
This month. So if you had cashback last month, you as a trader, and you've traded as an elite user, you would be up 40% on your fees, which is something that's crazy.
That's crazy.
And if you were a diamond, you would be up 30% on your fees, and if you were platinum, you would be up 15% on your fees, which is something I've never heard of. I don't know if anyone has.
No, you're paid to trade.
You're paid to trade. Alex,
sum it up, nail it all, and show how
okay,
our
guys,
Borg token
so
is
here,
a better token economics.
Okay, guys, so if you don't fully grasp what's happening today, we're going to look at the Borg token relative to all the tokens that have the buybacks. So up until here, thanks to my brother here from another mother, Anthony, you understood that it's not an altcoin season, it's a fundamental season. And the fundamentals is measured by revenues, and the buybacks is by measuring how much of your revenues are you willing to compromise in order to focus on the token. Now, this is very, very important to understand. And if you didn't understand the previous slides, it's very important to understand that the buybacks that we're going to start as soon as October 1st are going to be on a weekly basis. And last week, just last week, we would have pushed $400,000 plus, so more than $400,000 in buyback every week. So you have $1.6 million of buybacks on the Borg token. And you guys are very lucky, and we're very lucky to have you so that you know this information, regardless if people are selling and don't understand the fundamental power of these new systems and utilities. But let's look at the different tokens by the most important categories. You can see here at the top that we have FDV. So SwissBorg FDV is 1/10, 100th, 1,000th of all the other SEX index players that are doing buybacks as of today. The second range is if we continue like last week and we take $400,000 and we multiply it by 52 weeks in a year, then that means we'll have roughly $20 million of buybacks in a year. And $20 million of buybacks in a year with a token that is as illiquid as the Borg is absolutely crazy. Why? Well, obviously we cannot compare with BNB, which has roughly $1 to $2 billion of buybacks a year. But you can see here when you compare it to Jupiter, which has roughly the same range, you have Aave, which has roughly the same range, but these are tokens that Aave, for instance, has a $5 billion market cap. Jupiter has a $3.5 billion market cap. And let's say Radium, that has more liquidity than us, with $7 million of buyback, are also bigger than our market cap. But another thing to look at with regards to these different structures and categories is the percentage of fees. What we've learned at SwissBorg is that in the past, when you have 5%, 10%, 15, 20% of revenues, that is not enough, once again, to really have a strong buyback. And you can see here that we have 50% of trading fees dedicated to the buyback, which is massive. The next part is duration. We've been doing buybacks for 5 years, so we know now what has not worked in the past, and we know what will work moving forward thanks to all the research that we're providing with you today. One important point is also the Borg token has 100% circulating supply, which you can see is one of the most important metrics to avoid sell pressure, like we saw with Jupiter, because even though they're fueling $30, $40 million of buybacks a year, or roughly $3 million a month, the problem is by inflating the supply, as Cyrus was saying earlier, you're actually going to have a net negative of selling pressure. With regards to the token percentage locked, roughly as of today, Borg tokens, alongside with the new ranks, we will have roughly 40% of all the supply locked that will be removed from the sell pressure. And you can see here, relative to other tokens, 40% is the second biggest after hype token. So we're truly doing something really good. Decentralization-wise, in terms of the number of holders, we have 160,000. And team tokens, we have roughly 12 to 13%. That includes the foundation and all the C-suite. So you can see all here, guys, together, that relative to the other projects, we have two main messages here. Number one is that we are going to have more buy pressure relative to FDV, relative to trading volume, right? And you saw the price impact in the previous slides. But on top of that, we're going to have less sell pressure than others because we have 100% of supply that is actually already emitted. But also on top of that, we have a lot of the percentage of our tokens that are locked, and will continue to lock up even.
And it's going to be oh, here we go. So with that, guys,
further ado, I'm so excited again. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the whole crew as well, bringing us to this Borgverse with this spaceship. This is the biggest time for us to be proud, to be loud. This is the time to react. It's time to fundamentally believe in what the Borg token is and how this Borg ecosystem is just changing on a daily basis. This pay-to-trade model is coming to you next week. The buybacks will happen right after this. This, again, will push us into a new Borgverse, bringing us to new heights, protecting us to the down devils. And I couldn't be more excited and more grateful than being alive as being the founder of SwissBorg. Anthony, Alex, brothers from another mother, get it, Benji, this is it. This was amazing. This was lovely. We are actually in 1 minute doing the French one from another studio. So much love to all you guys. As always, be healthy, be wealthy, love our Borg and equity. And back to you, Alex and Anthony.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Bright. That was a pleasure. You will find all the different video on social media. Benji, you committed to it. You will make it happen tomorrow. You can see everything about this presentation, and we will be back. Alex, last word.
The future is bright, my friends. Don't doubt on the Borg. Now we have the fundamentals ready.
Let's
Borg
go.
to the moon. Borg back.
Let's do it. When I say Swiss,
You say Borg.
Borg.
You say Borg.
Much love, guys. Bye.